Alrighty, hello everybody and welcome back to Sparxe 2 key event. We have reached the final match of this round of 16 weekend, and it is going to be a very interesting matchup. It's going to be Zoobin versus Sleeby Maddy, and this is a winner's bracket match and also a pretty close match seeding wise. It's only a 7 seed differential, 5 versus 12. I'm actually pretty excited to see how this match will go. As always, my name is Arasati. Commentating along with me is going to be Sparky. How's it going, Sparky?
It's going absolutely fantastic. I had this match circled on my calendar. It's going to be very interesting to see how these two stack up against each other. They're both pretty relatively new to the 1-2 key scene, but boy have they both exploded onto it. They are both very good in their own right, and it feels like we're gonna see hopefully an intense back and forth as they try and settle into their respective comfort zones. There might be some overlap as we get this first warm-up loaded up, and it looks like we're gonna go back to 1 key to try and get things warmed up. Not too bad. I mean, you get both hands involved and you start to really activate them. You don't need to worry about 2 keys.
Yeah, and already getting underway with this first warm-up, and it's gonna be... Hey! We are traveling back in time!
I wonder if either of these players use different scroll speeds for 1 key in comparison to 2 key. I know I myself personally, I play 1 key on 17 scroll speed, and I bump it up to 23 for 2 key because it just feels more comfortable. Hopefully they remember if they do need to switch, but for right now, I mean, I think this is Maddy's warm-up and just absolutely killing it right now.
Yeah, did Maddy ever play in any of the joke-related tournaments, like 1-2 World Cup, Joke
They played
or 1?
They played World Cup, I know that for sure. And like I said, they just absolutely exploded onto the scene. Just had, like I said, fresh face and starting to put up scores that rivaled some of the best US players that signed up for that tournament, got themselves a spot on the A team, and we all know how that squad did. And meanwhile with Zoobin, I mean, relatively the same story. I think they did the World Cup with Team UK. I think they
actually placed second.
Yeah, they've been on the periphery of 1 key, but I think the World Cup was their first actual attempt to join the event. I feel like they've always had interest in it, but actually seeing them be able to play, it was kind of like, oh boy, what would the spreadsheets have looked like if they actually participated in the joke tournaments proper, because they were putting up some really good scores when they did actually play.
Yeah, they had a powerhouse of a team as well. I know, like, of course we had obviously some pretty well-known players on this team of the United Kingdom, Teasel and Zoobin, but also I'm pretty sure every single player on the UK team is playing in this tournament.
I think so too.
They also have Dragon, who just won by default against Molly. Eliminate, also known as Nathaniel, who was actually our first seed in this tournament, and Mania, who I believe is versing, Cub in winners quarters, if I am not wrong. So it's kind of interesting to see the full UK roster from 1 Key World Cup all break off into a free-for-all 2 key tournament.
Yeah, it's really nice to see just the avid amounts of participation, and right now, I mean, it makes me want to play 1 key again, but I imagine that won't be an official tournament for a hot minute. We still gotta get through this. Gotta finish up the 2-key tournament, and this doesn't give us any information to go off of, which is both a blessing and a curse, because it doesn't set any expectations when they do get into the match proper.
Yeah, for sure. But hey, you kind of have an idea on how one of the columns will go.
Huh. If these two were playing this on one hand, I would actually have genuine questions as to what they're taking.
Okay, we're actually playing a 2-key map now. Alright. This is from Basil's 2-key pack number 2. That's a lot of 2s.
So many 2s.
So, I am well aware of her 2-key pack. I'm pretty sure when she was going to do her match against Mania, which it involved a win by default, this was her warm-up. But I actually never got to see the map. Or we actually never got to see the map.
And sure enough, Maddy asking how to change scroll speed outside of a map would have been disastrous if they got into the match with the wrong scroll speed. Zoobin would be very helpful, almost sending him an Alt F4.
What do you mean? That actually works.
That fixes everything, honestly. Just hit Alt F4. If you have a problem, just hit Alt F4.
Yeah, if you are experiencing ads or if your stream is not loading, press Alt F4. That will fix it right away.
Absolutely. Right on par with deleting System 32 in terms of helpful advice.
And also buying more RAM.
And, well, downloading more of it.
Or, yeah, buying, downloading, same thing. And as we get into this warm-up, this is a pretty dense pick. This is something you would probably see in, like, probably semis or finals. Never mind, this is grand finals.
This is indeed very hard, but I mean, these players just making very light work of it in terms of being able to read through it, able to hold on some semblance of combo, and oh boy, if this is what a Siren looks like for Maddy, and able to put up a comparable score, I can only imagine what these two scores are going to be once we get into the match. Like, these rice picks are going to get absolutely demolished.
And look at how Zoobin is performing. I know this is their warm-up, but oh my goodness, they are absolutely destroying on what would be pretty much the final boss of the rice picks of this tournament, which makes me think that Zoobin has the edge in more like in more physical components. But look at Sleeby Maddy; they're not too far behind when it comes to the accuracy component. They're only a percentage behind, and even then, Zoobin is starting to find some drops on these very dense patterning. So I can only imagine to see how both these players would do when it comes to a more or less physical pick, such as maybe like Rice 3 in the map pool. That is going to be close. It's just going to come down to who has the better ratio. And I think Zoobin would be winning that in that department. And I pretend I do not see it.
Ignorance is bliss, and we'll get into the roles. Very close. In the grand scheme of things, that is a very, very close score. 44 to 81 are going to be the roles. Zoobin does end up winning that. Maddy will be banning first. Zoobin will be picking first overall. And I mean, what do you go for here in terms of a ban? I mean, I mean, obviously, but it's one of those where. Oh, Rice 3. Okay, this makes sense because we know that Zoobin is capable of swinging some nasty scores on consistency maps. Yeah. And that's probably more just of a I don't want to get into a ratio battle with you type of ban, and LM2 being removed, that's probably more of a I don't want to sit through 4 minutes of this type of ban.
No, that's also more of an I don't want to play 4 minutes of long mode.
Yeah.
That is pretty. It's one thing to play land. It is another to play 4 minutes of it.
Yeah. It's very much just respecting time and respecting capabilities. And we leave Rice 4 and SV untouched, two of the techiest maps in this pool.
And I would love to see an SV pick.
It could very well happen. It's very much a possibility, but it is with Zoobin up to pick first. I mean, all the Rice picks are available. Rice 1, just bog standard. I'm expecting a low double-digit count on the 300s.
And they're gonna go for Rice 1. They choose Rice 1. And yeah, I also expect a very low double-digit 300 count from both of these players. Well, Zoobin especially, they have built up a reputation to where they are probably one of, if not one of the greatest ratio players when it comes to the 2-key mode, or just like in their field of range overall. When it comes to any key mode, honestly, especially with 4-key as well, they have shown that they can get solid ratio on some of the most nutty maps out there, and this one is definitely fitting the criteria pretty well, actually. This map is very tricky to nail down those mini jacks that coordinate back and forth with some trills built in the way, and also at 176 BPM. Not really beneficial, not very beneficial, but here we go. Beginning off this map, both players basically neck and neck. Zoobin having the slight advantage when it comes to the accuracy ratio, but Sleeby and Maddy trying their hardest to keep up with Zoobin's godly accuracy right now, 99.95 to a 99.86. Still, definitely lots more map to go through, so it's not really no harm, no foul throughout this first third of the map. As we progress further through, it's pretty much just the same sections over and over again with these mini jacks and trills. It's just Sleeby Maddy is finding a lot more 300s than what Zoobin is currently getting.
Yeah, that's really all it's coming down to. A 200 as well, a very early hit on one of these stream patterns. Gonna drop them down another half a tenth, and really with the margins that these two are going to be playing with on these Rice charts, that could really make all the difference if there aren't going to be any major mistakes being made. It's just the cleanliness of the overall performance that's going to really make the difference. And right now Zoobin is keeping it laser tight. That UR bar is practically dead center throughout the entirety of this chart. A 99.95 performance, a 5,000 point victory. Imagine getting a 990k and still losing the map.
8.5. And there it is, the low double-digit 300 count that we predicted. Only 20. And even then, look at Sleeby Maddy. 993 and still losing is wow.
Yeah, 73 beats a lot of people still in this bracket. The 1-200, unfortunate, but honestly, that's what, maybe a 994, 995, but that's basically what the bar is going to be on these Rice picks. And Maddy going to go for the speed pick right out of the gate here.
I don't know how to feel about that.
It's a gamble. It's very much a gamble, but it's one of those where you want to play to your comfort, and Maddy is capable of getting these really physical picks out of the way. This is definitely easier, some folks have said, than round of 32's speed pick. I think it's just because of the stylistic differences. That ending is going to be the decider here.
Pretty much just a game of blackjack where you have the ace in your hand and you're hoping you get, you have the king, hold on, I'm trying to make a blackjack joke with this. You have the ace in, Yeah, you have to hit that 21. So you're praying you get a face or a 10, but at the same time, you also have the risk of scoring very low with your ace. So you gotta be careful with this pick. I mean, Zoobin, like I mentioned, can pull off insane ratios on some of the most difficult maps that this game has to offer. Like, just going outside of even what, like, 2 key and 1 key, like I mentioned, 4 key is what they normally main, they can pull off insane stuff. And this map is pretty much just all of the hard parts being at the very tail end of this map. And it's just going to see, can Maddy do better than Zoobin at that back half where things really show up with those 240 BPM mini jacks and very fast trills that transition in between those.
Yeah, it remains to be seen right now. Like I said, the bar for these two players on these rice picks is going to be this 99.9% mark. They both have insane accuracy. It's just keeping the 300 counts to an absolute minimum. And right now, very little is separating these two players. Inside of a 10th of a percent, near perfection for both of them. And this is going to be the story for, I imagine, 80% of the chart. We've been hyping it up the entire time. This back half is going to be the decider for the two of them. The 1/8 doublet starts to come through every now and again. Very easy for players of this caliber. But when we get into those pure 5-stroke rolls, the 7 notes as well, that's really what's going to determine who gets it. The trill catches Maddy a little bit, gets him under that 99.9 mark. Zoobin handles it a little bit better, loses about 100th of a percent, but I mean, this is basically 300 counts you can count on one hand at the moment. Here it comes. The pure roll starts to rain down, and Zoobin finds the first miss.
There is no map to go. It's just a miss is needed from Maddy if Zoobin wants this back in their favor. Zoobin is pretty much...
there it is!
There it is! But is there
Timing
enough
of the
map?
miss.
Is there enough map?
Oh, but the cleanliness of it.
I think there is. Hold on a second. It's going back and forth, and Zoobin is going to take the break point. I am scared to see his ratio.
34.
What is that? Oh my god. Zoobin, you need to stop.
That's disgusting. That is a disgusting ratio. The single miss. But Maddy with the inopportune chance to take the point. Their hand slipped off the key. Oof, that is unfortunate. They had it. It was there. But unable to capitalize, and Zoobin the beneficiary of it. And able to make it 2-0 to start this match off with their pick upcoming. Chance to make it 3 off the rip.
Yeah, they can definitely stick in that Rice department. Rice 4 is a bit of a gamble. Rice 2 will probably be your safest pick if you are a Zoobin. But you also have some of the other... they're going to try Rice 4.
Rice 4, yep. Only map they could potentially mean by that.
I am actually intrigued to see how this goes.
This plays very much into Zoobin's wheelhouse. I mean, these rice picks, it's one of those where it's like the overlap between these two players. It cannot be understated on this top half of the map pool. We say like, oh yeah, they have this person has the advantage on this, that person has the advantage on that. It's so minute. It's the tiny details in these picks. That 300 count, that hesitation, that anticipation of certain notes. This is really going to put them to the test their mettle in regards to not jumping the gun on some of these notes, and execution going to be the name of the game.
Yeah, and Zoobin, I'm honestly just wondering, what ratio will Zoobin get on a tech chart like this? We are tied. Both players are robots. Okay, there we go.
Just playing on auto at this point. 30 points between them. It's gonna flicker like this. It's gonna be we're not gonna see a leaderboard for certain portions of this chart as they continue to just put up dominant performances. The fact that one of these players is gonna be in the losers bracket after this is horrifying.
Yeah, that be afraid on whoever. Like, I'm willing to bet the person.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a break. A pretty early one, too, from Maddy. That is going to give Zoobin a pretty, an 8,000 point cushion to work with going into the sheer technical sections of this map. But yes, like fear, like Tyler's foot, fear for who your opponent is going to be in the loser's bracket, buddy.
That's who the next opponent's going to be. Whoever loses this match will go up against Tyler's foot. Maddy making the recovery run from that early drop back up into that mid 99% mark, but the mark has already been set. Zoobin 99.8 finally dropping off that perch, just a little bit of calmer section. These syncopated rhythms, the awkward flam patterns through some of these anchored one-hand patterns, not catching out either player. Both of them back up with that 400 combo cap. But Zoobin holding on to the FC, able to keep Maddy at bay for now. 12,000 points the advantage as they try to close the gap on Zoobin with a third of the map left to go here. But another drop going into the doubles.
The timing switch, the switch and snapping is catching up Maddy, and that is not going to be good. These 1/3 changes not going to benefit them at all. As now Zoobin has the driver's seat. They are 30,000 points in their favor, heading into the final quarter of the map. Not really much besides those changes in snappings and those pretty much the stream and jacks that we have been seeing throughout this entire chart. And as the map is starting to come to a conclusion, Maddy finding another break that is not going to benefit them at all, and Zoobin continuing just absolutely brute forcing through this chart. And even with a few 200s under their belt, it's not really going to do much as the map is coming to a conclusion with these final jacks. Zoobin is absolutely tearing through this map. Yet even despite Maddy's valiant efforts to try to redeem that accuracy, it is not going to be enough. And that was a pretty bad rush. I don't know if just Maddy knowing that they lost, or just maybe an extra keyboard. I put a 993.
Yeah, that's ridiculous consistency. 3 200s.
And Maddy had 5.
Oh, the key broke. That's why. That explains it. Those were they were probably just trying to hit the switch itself, trying to do something on the fly.
Oh my goodness, that sucks.
That
has happened to me one time.
Yeah, I mean on we've seen many reports of spacepars breaking during the 1-key event. We can now say that a 2-key a two key keyboard
and we're
input has broken. I think this is like the first time we have seen it. This is the first time I've seen it on stream.
This is I believe this is the second time that I've seen SV. I think I'm unsure. I can swear I've seen this pick before, or this pick being played, but I'm unsure.
Yeah, it's one of those. A complete 180 from last week, where the SV pick was super popular. Now it is super banned. Very much, I think the physicality requirement of this one in comparison to last week's a little bit too much to bear.
And we're just getting an insider's note from the streamer that Maddy has a case of the Wu-Ting keycaps. They have a notorious reputation for being awful. So, yeah, like, honestly, during 1-key World Cup, I actually swapped out my Wu-Ting keyboard with an Apex Pro just so I don't have to deal with, like, my spacebar wanting to fall out or something like that.
Yeah.
It is, yeah, no, Maddy, I feel your pain with the keycaps. But anywho, underway with the SV pick.
Yeah, this one very reading focused for those that might not have seen it. An early drop from Maddy. I imagine it's going to be the guessing game of which key is the one giving them issues. But right now it might be pointing to the left one as we continue on. Zoobin taking full advantage. But as I say, I'm finding the trade back as they try to read their way through it. It's not the hardest of SV gimmicks, but it does make you question your timing. You do start to anticipate, start to rush a little bit as Maddy finds a slider break in return. Both of them in that 98% range. A bit of signs of humanity from both of them. They are human, capable of missing as we make our way into the second quarter of the chart here.
And as we progress further, this is definitely where things get more physical. The SV's showing back to light. Maddy finding a break. That's just going to give Zoobin another couple thousand points added to their already growing 25,000 point cushion that they have built up throughout this chart. Reaching the back half of this map now, Zoobin over that 400 combo cap, going to even increase that lead even more now. And this is where things get a bit more tricky. I think this is a full memo section up ahead.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Timing these slides is ridiculous, and then you have to figure out what's happening here.
And Zoobin!
Zoobin's sight reading it because they haven't been able to practice this chart. That's
oh
probably the only major section catching out Zoobin, and it gives the lead right back over to Maddy with a 8th of the chart left to go, 14,000 point swing.
But Maddy is not safe from it yet. But I think with that right there, they now are. As there's only these final doublets of the map left to go. Now able to see how your opponent is doing. Yeah, basically just both players just absolutely spamming their keys to just try to guess when are the notes gonna fall down. And Maddy going to get on the board for the first time in this match.
Yeah, 3-1 now the score. Maddy going to switch their keys. Finally had enough of the control key not playing fair anymore. See if they can realign themselves. It does feel a little weird texturally on the keys when you do make the switch, but given their proficiency, it wouldn't be that much of a hassle, I imagine. And yeah, I think that slow gem at the end is very much the breaking point for a lot of people, where it's like, okay, cool, I can deal with the reading gimmicks, and then suddenly, okay, cool, memo.
Yeah, that is the part where people just escape and quit the map.
Yeah.
And move on to something else.
Move on to something else, not dealing with that. Bye. And we're gonna say bye to that map. Not gonna see it again. The remainder of the weekend. As we wait for Zoobin to make their next pick, I imagine. I mean, Rice 2 is still on the board. Beat is gone.
What?
I mean, all the hybrid picks are also just very fine, and it's gonna be Chocolate Missile.
Honestly, this definitely makes the most sense. If you're gonna go for a hybrid pick, you go for hybrid 2. Like I mentioned, those LN anchors, like that one section with the LN anchor on your left column, and then trying to time those awkward mini jacks on the right hand, has been a recipe for disaster for, I'm pretty sure, every single player that has played this map. But if there's one player that has proven everything wrong when it comes to hitting extremely awkward patterns, it has been Zoobin.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've identified critical breaking points for these two players on most of these maps so far. On the speed pick, we highlighted the 1/8 stream section. In this one, it's going to be that polyrhythm section at the very end, where, as you mentioned, as you highlighted, the LN anchors with the Rice taps on the opposite hand, just at incredibly awkward times. If you're not expecting it, it can take you for a bit of a ride. And the players are ready. We're going to get into it. I think this opening 3 quarters is just going to be trying to minimize the 300 counts.
And here we go with Hybrid 2. Basically, I would imagine it being a tug of war throughout this entire section until we reach the forbidden anchor one side, mini jack other side section.
Yeah, this is... it's going to flicker within 1,000 points for most of this map, I imagine. Unless somebody finds a just devastating miss somewhere.
Yeah, those are definitely possible throughout this chart. But as it stands, Maddy finding a couple 200s on those jacks and some of those shields as well. Not going to be the end of all things, but it's just going to leave a dent in the score for now, as Zoobin now has a pretty comfortable lead over this. But like I said, Gonna be a game of tug of war until you reach the back half where that section basically comes in and slaps you in the face. So even though Zoobin is ahead by 3,000 points, that can change at any given moment. And as you reach the first break section of the map, players can climb up their accuracy. Zoobin hitting that 99.7 barrier. And as we head into the next drop of the map, I'm pretty sure this is the drop before the bridge into that section that we keep on alluding to.
Yeah, this is a bit of a precursor for what is to come. The density really starts to ramp up before getting into that polyrhythm section. Some LN anchors to kind of get you ready for what is to come. And right now, Zoobin nursing that 7,000 point lead. Can swap in an instant. Maddy picking up a couple of 200s here and there as they try to hang on, but they're still in it. So long as they hold on to this FC, if they can make it through this unscathed, as Zoobin picks up some inopportune misses, it can come in an instant. Here it comes.
And both players hitting the first one. Here comes the second section.
Third Maddy finds the drop.
Break. But there are still these mini jacks and trills, but it's not going to catch up Zoobin. And I think they V1 double S that section. I saw them gain.
Yeah, up in that 99.7 range. They smashed that section. And Maddy left to pick up the pieces here as they try to get back up with that 400 combo cap. Not going to have enough time, and even if they did, wouldn't be able to put up much of a dent. And Zoobin taking it 30,000 points, the most convincing map they've had so far, as they make it 4-1 on this outro.
992, what are you doing, man?
3 200s.
Oh my goodness, 3! And none of them were hit on the funny section.
Yeah, I imagine just some awkward releases here or there.
But that will bring Zoobin to a match point situation. Maddy trying their hardest as well. Getting almost double, getting more than double of what Zoobin got in ratio, but a really solid 200 count, especially for this being probably the hardest hybrid we have in this map pool. Only suffering one miss. That is not bad at all. 960k. That is what people would consider high to some standard.
For sure.
Maddy gonna try to stay alive for another pick. And gonna go for hybrid 3. I'm interested to see how this will go.
I imagine more of the same. I feel like there might be a bit of a release weakness on the side of Maddy, but for right now, this one's definitely a little bit easier to coordinate. There are some awkward bursts here and there, but outside of that, we'll see how they do.
And here we go, underway with hybrid 3. And already opening up, Zoobin being in more favor accuracy-wise, but like we mentioned, it's pretty much tug of war until a notable section gets through. And
yeah, it's
right now both. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's just these LN anchors with these quick bursts in between gonna be the real difference maker as to who can keep these shorter LNs, the 200 counts, to an absolute minimum. And right now, Zoobin doing a little bit of a better job, 0.4% ahead, despite both players holding on to the FC. But they find the slider break, and it instantly swaps the lead over to Maddy. A very dirty drop by their standards, losing almost 0.3% just off of that singular drop.
But Zoobin still having the accuracy advantage, and there is plethora of time in this map to get over that 400 combo cap. It is just, as long as Zoobin can avoid the combo breaks and get over that 400 combo cap, they have all the map in the world to do that, and they are nearing that section. And yeah, and there it is, the 400 combo cap has been past that lead. Now we're going to begin to shift over to the side of Zoobin now, as They have the accuracy lead and now starting to climb up that combo. But there it goes! The miss from Zoobin. That's just going to give Maddy more of a lead.
Yeah, double into Snake really taking him out there. I'll let you continue from here.
But although I was about to say, they are climbing very fast. They still have the accuracy advantage. But it's just Maddy not giving up in combo. If a singular slider breaker miss happens on Maddy's side, that is pretty much it, and that lead will immediately go over to the side of Zoobin. But I think Zoobin has traded far too many misses. I think you're gonna have to see 1 or 2, maybe even 3 from Maddy. But as the map is concluding, it doesn't look like it's gonna happen at all. There are still some tricky long note sections here with some jacks, but Maddy has been shown nothing but consistency throughout this entire map. And even though Zoobin has crossed that 400 combo barrier, that will close in the lead just a slight bit, but not by much, and Maddy will be staying alive for another map.
Right, you are 4-2. Even with the 4 misses, the accuracy from Zoobin is crazy good. And that was a sight read from them, getting caught up by some of those bursts. But, I mean, outside of that, I mean, very commendable scorer. That is a sight read a lot of people would love to be able to do.
That is absolutely terrifying. Mm-hmm. Saying that on a sight read? Yeah. Okay, man.
But as it stands, Zoobin up to pick.
Yeah, Zoobin up to the plate now. It's gonna be interesting to see what they... I mean, Rice 2 would seem the most applicable one, I would say.
Yeah, they'd be able to read through those streams pretty easily, even on a sight read if they are sight reading it. But, I mean, everything is relatively short. And Zoobin asking what kind of map Rice 2 is. It's basically single node streams, couple of 1/4 here and there, yeah, ratio. In comparison to something like Rice 4, where it's just pure tech. And since they got rid of Rice 3, you can't really bank on that. So, yeah, they're going to go for Rice 2.
Yeah, Zoobin going to try out Rice 2. And this is Zoobin's last pick of the match. So opting for Rice 2, their final pick, like I mentioned. It's either Zoobin wins or Maddy takes a crucial breakpoint and could potentially lead things to a tiebreaker situation. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a match on our hands.
Like, potentially. The fact that both these players just DT these things for fun is scary. Zoobin has played this, but just with double time. They have not. I don't think they played this with no mod. So the familiarity might. I mean, honestly, slowing things down in comparison to playing things super fast, it's a lot easier to go slower than it is to go faster. This might feel too slow for them. They're like, huh, I'm not having to break my wrist for this.
Yeah, I will expect that UR bar will be exceptionally early on Zoobin's side if they have said they have played this on DT.
Nah, they
just kind of rushing. Yeah, I would reckon Zoobin is a pretty fast when it comes to adjusting, and so far they have adjusted fairly well to this opening 1/3 section, and it's pretty much just going to be tug of war. Yet again, this has been pretty much the standard for this match. I'm pretty sure this entire match actually has just been back and forth until one breaks.
Still, we continue on. This is, as we have seen with most of the Rice picks so far, just pure ratio. 200 counts not allowed. It has to be as close to 0 as humanly possible, if not 0. And the 300 count is going to make all the difference. We have seen Zoobin ahead in terms of that count by about 30 to 40 notes when things are all square and there are no misses to consider. And right now, really putting that to the test as we cross into the second third. One of the few LNs in this chart coming through. Nobody slipping up on that, which is great. And nobody being caught up by these 1/3 2-note chords as we continue on. it's only about 2,000 points, give or take a couple hundredths of a percent in terms of the accuracy. That's going to be where the real swings are. If any of them find a 200 count, it's going to put a major dent in that lead that Zoobin has.
Yeah, and as we progress throughout this map, halfway done now, Zoobin's still ahead by only by a certain margins, 2,000 points, and that is solely off of their ratio of 99.94. You might think that maybe Maddy has dropped a 200 on one of these sections down in the high 99.7 range, but seeing how Maddy is losing by 99 points with a 99.7, you would like that is petrifying.
Yeah, it's just the levels that some of these players can perform at. If you give them something straightforward that they can do, they can really start to show off some of the other skills that they possess in other chemos. Really do translate very nicely. And right now, 99.94, there's really not much Maddy can do outside of hoping for some sort of slip up from Zoobin. But as it stands on these rice picks, they have been the epitome of consistency. There's still an eighth of the chart left to go. Not out of the woods just yet. It is still teetering on a knife's edge in terms of being able to perform consistently. A couple of 300s there on those 2-note chords, but outside of that, that's probably the biggest danger on those doubles. We have seen the flips on those this weekend already, and with I think one elongated one left, it looks like,
yeah,
I won't say until it's over.
Here comes, and that not a 998. And both V1 double S'ing, so no, there was no 300, there were no 200s in the mix. And Maddy, with a 993.7 and still losing, is so frightening. It is just off of, like you mentioned, this entire match. It's going to come down to the ratio and the 300. And in the end, Zoobin is going to take the match 5-2. And oh my goodness, that was a match and a half. And like we said, it comes down to just the closest of margins, just down to even just the fewest of 300s. And Zoobin has punched their ticket into the winners quarterfinals. And Sleeby Maddy, they are not out of the woods just yet. They are going to have to challenge some players in the losers bracket, but I would reckon they will be going on a tear. And Zoobin gonna move on to verse Basil in the winners quarterfinals. That will be a match and a half. While in the losers bracket, it looks like Sleepy Maddy is gonna be versing Tyler's Foot in the losers quarterfinals. So ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. The round of 16 has concluded. All of our matches have been completed. The bracket is set in stone. All that is left for us to show you is the showcase for quarterfinals, which will be, if I'm correct, 20 UTC.
Yep, so don't want to miss it. Definitely stick around here. But until then, we'll catch you guys later.
Goodbye.
Keep